back to Hasbro's Hide, working on our counter mod again, and this time working with installing magnets for the other size wheels. Now the standard wheel is the one I started with, and I just simply had drilled that out, dremelled a slot into it, and glued it in place, and it caught the proximity sensor no problem. So I want to do that for the other two wheels, because since then I bought the large wheel. Now this wheel is for a friend. I mean, we're going to do 338 Lapua Magnums, but there are other calibers you can put in this as well. So we're going to do that with this wheel. But I still like to count. We won't be doing nearly as many rounds as we do you've seen in the other videos, but still I like to be able to count. And then the small wheel, which I'll use probably more often because I'm shooting a lot of 6.5 Grendel rounds now on my ARs, and so that's what this wheel does. But I need a magnet, because when you buy this simple proximity counter switch I showed in the previous video on that, it only comes with one magnet, and so that's a problem. And so I want to get more. Now, during non-COVID days, I might go to Lowe's, Menards, places like that, and pick up just a single or smaller quantity of magnets, but I couldn't do that. And so I went to Amazon and I found a assortment of them. And so this is a nice metal box that comes in, but look at the pile of magnets you get. And these are really strong magnets too. They call them refrigerator magnets. It's from Elecfind, and I'll put a link in the video down below here in the text if you want to see that. But anyway, so they come with an assortment of these things, all the way down from the smaller ones, which are 6mm by 3mm thickness here, so 6 diameter, 3mm thick. And then you have an 8, a 10, a 12, and a 15mm diameter. Now, any of these will work, I think, pretty well just fine, but if you get them really small, you might have trouble positioning in it. And so I did a quick test. You see, they're really strong magnets. So I did a quick test here. I'll set these out of the way on the proximity switch, and so you can run this by this proximity switch. Let me pull this thing off since it's velcroed on, as I showed before, and you can watch the counter, and just coming by it here, we catch it every time within a pretty good distance here. So you're maybe half an inch away, and you'll pick it up every time you come by. Now the key thing is, if you look at it this way, you can come by with half of it there. And that's good, because that means you don't have to get this exactly centered to the position this is, or exactly centered in the wheel, because I don't want to go any deeper than I have to into the wheel. And so this one, in fact, it's not as big a magnet. The magnet in here has to be the 12mm size, which goes over to about right there, and it still picks up. But from that quick test, the small magnet will pick it up just fine. So on the smaller wheel, this one, I use this smaller magnet just because it's, I don't have to go so far in. On the bigger wheel, I might use the next size up, maybe go to the 12mm size and put that into that wheel, just because it's a bigger case, or bigger thickness, and I'll just come down in a little bit more. But still, relative to our proximity switch, we're still not going to be halfway into that wheel. And so that'll work good. So I'll go ahead and basically you just mark this and drill it on the back side. So what I'll do is take a marker and go roughly 90 degrees to that. Make sure that when I put in my slot width, whatever that may be, based on the diameter of that magnet, that is wide enough without getting near the edge. And then make sure I allow for 3mm of thickness here. So something like that will be pretty close. And you can see here, it'll be more than enough if you lay, I don't know if you can see that well there, but lay that on top of there. I'm sure my big hands are in the way, but you can see maybe that way a little bit better. The width of that will be just fine to the slot width, and then I will be nowhere near the edges and weaken the wheel in any way. So we'll do that, and that's on the big wheel. I'll actually put this one into that one and the bigger one into that. And we'll install these, and then we'll come back and show you how they work. All right, we've gone down and used the drill press and drilled out now our slots. And you can see I've drilled them plenty wide enough for this, so we get a little bit of glue in each side of this magnet, and then the width is fine. And so this is for the small one, and you see you just drop the magnet right in there, and it is then down out of the way, and then not quite in the middle of the face, but close, and yet there's still plenty of plastic all the way around it. So that's about what it should look like. This is the large one, and this is a bigger magnet, and so had to get a little deeper, so it's drilled down to about right there, and then a little bit wider, and again, same thickness, so we have a little bit of room for glue. And you can see it's all down then below the flush on the wheel. You want to keep everything as basically as close as you can to flush on this face, so you don't rub on the box of the Annealeez machine. So we'll glue those in, and then they'll be just fine for our counter mod. But we'll test them. Glue these in. We're going to use what we used last time, quick grip. It's just a common contact type cement, all purpose, and it's easy to dig out. So if you decide, hey, I've made a mistake, or I don't have a big enough magnet, or I want to go stronger, well then you can dig it out. So we'll just put this down in here, press our magnets in, give them a few minutes to cure, and then we're ready to assemble and put back on and test. All right, so we have our small wheel adapter installed, and it has the magnet installed in the back of it now. This one is the large. It's still drying, but it has it installed, and just clean a little bit of glue up there, and it will be ready to go. These are all going to reference that proximity sensor just fine, because in fact they all reference the mounting to the machine from the back face. And so even though they're different diameters, different wheels, the center of the magnet I have close to the same place anyway between these two different ones. Just this one has a bigger magnet. This one actually has a smaller one because I didn't want the magnet getting too close to the face of the wheel, and so it is just a smaller one. It's recessed in the back just the same way as you saw in the last part of that video. So let's turn it on and take a look, and we'll see how it works. Now, the way this counter works is you'll need to zero it when the first brass drops, now I have my magnets roughly directly across from this slot. So once this comes past, while there's a case on here, that's when you zero. And then you're only going to count what's actually dropping. And so you'll see here, now that goes through. When this comes by then is when I zero. And now, as it goes by again, it's going to count only what hit the case, what hit that pan. And so this will be number 2, and you'll see it'll count it here in a second. There's 2. And so you'll be able to keep track pretty easily. When you hear the last one fall, you wait just a couple seconds, the counter counts it, you know exactly how many you have. Now, this is a low number of cases, so you don't even, in fact, really have to have the counter. But I typically do a lot of cases at once and fill this hopper up, and so that's where it becomes really nice, just to have a little bit of feedback on how many that you're doing. So, new magnets from Amazon, refrigerator magnets, they work just fine. You can probably pick them up much cheaper at your local hardware store and just pick up 1 or 2, whatever you need for how many wheels you want to install them in. Anyway, so I thought you might like to see that, and it's working just fine.